Drake and PartyNextDoor's SSS For You had all the hype leading up to its release, with OVO fans ready to declare another win for their GOAT. But now that the numbers are coming in, the reality is setting in. This album isn't performing the way anyone expected. The question is, did Drake actually flop? Or are the expectations just too high? Let's break it all down. Before we dive in, be sure to like and subscribe, because we're going deep into what these numbers actually mean for Drake's career. Drake and PartyNextDoor's SSS For You had all the hype leading up to its release, with OVO fans ready to declare another win for their GOAT. When the PartyNextDoor collab first dropped, it looked like a success on paper. The album pulled 246,000 first-week sales, which might seem like a decent number, but let's put that into context. For all the hype, this is one of Drake's lowest first-week sales in years. His last solo project, For All the Dogs, did 402,000 in its opening week. That's a nearly 40% drop-off, and for someone like Drake, that's a big deal. Now, his team and die-hard fans will say this isn't a solo album and that it's more of a collaborative R&B project. But even compared to previous collaborative efforts like Her Loss with 21 Savage, which did 404,000 first week, this isn't stacking up. More importantly, the streaming numbers tell an even worse story. On Spotify, Sexy Songs For You pulled in around 56 million streams on day one. Compare that to For All the Dogs with 108 million, or even Her Loss with 150 million, the drop-off is impossible to ignore. If that wasn't bad enough, the album's second-day streams fell even harder, barely clearing 30 million streams. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar's GNX, which dropped months ago, is still outstreaming Sexy Songs daily. Even Not Like Us, Kendrick's diss track from almost a year ago, is pulling in more numbers than Drake's brand new songs. That's not the performance you expect from an artist who, just months ago, was talking about breaking Michael Jackson's #1 record. Drake has built his brand on dominating the charts. From breaking Beatles records to consistently landing #1s, he's always had a stronghold on Billboard. But for the first time in over a decade, a new Drake album has 0 #1 hits. Even the biggest song, Gimme a Hug, struggled to gain traction. Meanwhile, Kendrick Lamar's Luther is climbing back to the top again. This isn't just a one-time stumble, it's a pattern. Drake has been dropping music at a relentless pace, but each album is performing worse than the last. The numbers aren't lying anymore. One of the most interesting narratives coming from OVO is that Sexy Songs For You was somehow sabotaged. Drake himself has been hinting that his label or the music industry is working against him. His fans have run with this, claiming that streaming platforms are suppressing the album. But there's no real evidence for this. The album was promoted everywhere: front page placements, playlist spots, and Apple Music highlights. The issue isn't suppression, the issue is people just aren't replaying the album. One of Drake's biggest problems right now is that he's lost the casual listener. It's not that he doesn't have an audience, he does, but it's becoming increasingly die-hard fans only. That's why first-day numbers might be high, but there's no longevity. The people who rushed to listen aren't coming back for a second or third listen, and that's why the album is collapsing so fast. This isn't just a weak-performing album, it's the weakest-performing Drake album in the streaming era, something we're not used to seeing. Drake fans used to love flexing numbers whenever he was compared to Kendrick, J. Cole, or any other artist. But now, Kendrick isn't just winning critically, he's winning commercially too. The biggest takeaway: Drake is not the streaming king anymore. Even SZA's Deluxe album is pulling better numbers than Drake and PND. That tells you everything you need to know. Drake's at a turning point. He's still one of the biggest artists in the world, but the cracks in his dominance are undeniable. His music is feeling repetitive, his albums aren't generating lasting impact, and now his numbers aren't invincible either. If he doesn't evolve, this trend will only continue. So the real question is, does Drake's music still matter? Or are we watching the slow fall of an artist who refuses to change? Let me know what you think in the comments. Do these numbers surprise you? Is this just a minor setback, or is this the beginning of the end?